Is this up here for people for joys and sorrows, or for the choir,
Well,
or for me to get up and talk?
it's for you to get up and talk. Oh, well, our script.
Okay, so they moved. Okay, we cannot do this. We have to move these flags.
No. It's been a board. It has been a board decision. We do not want the flags up here.
Yes, it's in the middle.
Oh, let's move it elsewhere.
That's what we're going to do.
All right. Okay.
Affirmation is did you write it in the affirmation? I mean, is it a certain one? That's the doxology.
Yeah.
So, hymn verse and doxology.
What about our institution of time?
Yep. Yes.
Hey, that was me. I just clicked on your Gmail.
Oh,
So it was ready for you to log in case you need it. I promise I didn't read any of your racist emails. Oh, that's why you chose that one.
did I leave mine? Yeah, that's it. Okay.
Well, I can hold on to it.
Well, that wasn't me either. I don't think we need it because it looks like the stream like logs in automatically. Yeah. Okay, cool. I started the stream already. With the sound on and all of that. Pretty much ready. Oh, and I have the Ethernet cable. Plug that in somewhere, but I'm not really sure exactly where. So. Well, that part I know.
Yeah, and sometimes we'll let them know.
Okay, well, I'll see you when you get here. So I know. Alright.
Overwhelming. I got called for grand federal grand jury Thursday. I got this notice in the mail. 18 months. And I'm just stressed out. But Jackie asked, could joys and concerns be at that one?
Yes.
Your music's not flying off?
One thing.
I'm ready to do it.
I have, well, let's see, the joys and concerns. Okay, there it is. It says to ask people to come up here because Karina was worried about the mic, but we can use that one.
We can.
Yeah, so ask people to go to that mic, which I think they naturally would. But. So on this, I went ahead and yellow for you. Although your color's really purple.
That's right. It's true. It's true. It's true. Purple first, purple tip.
Oh, here's Geraldine, I think. Well, maybe not. Yes, I can.
Hello, can you hear me?
I guess we should get the cello out. Pam, Pam.
I bought the first 2 weeks. I bought Fred and I bought it.
Now I need a pen to put it in there. Where, where do you want this? COVID. Where does that go? In announcements? Where? I don't know where the word announcements is. Mm.
Newsletter or whatever it is that goes out to everyone. Said this Sunday is Zoom. It didn't say people come to church.
I'll do it in joys and sorrows about the water.
Ronnie brought it the first 2 weeks.
Oh, Pam's closing words. I'll do it here.
$5 a week. Buy enough water for everybody.
Where's our gal?
It's 32.
I'll ask them to come and see us. Ronnie bought it first. Who is it now? Sorry.
Well, we don't need it, but
It's just $5 a week. It's not much. Certainly appreciate it. Yes.
It's $5. Money and over.
I can't even look. I gave
I get an
her
A.
thinking that she was in charge of that, but then you're right.
We need enough for joys and sorrows and all of them stand up to it.
Whoever is whoever receives it. So it should be taken in as a different thing than just giving the money.
Well, then just take right.
No, they
Suzanne
didn't
said.
read it. I sent out that list also. Well, you're right. The top of the newsletter did, but we don't really need it.
This is going to be the microphone for the choir in the room.
Well, yeah, it's in the dead center. That's my only concern. The flags, when you put them right there, literally are in the screen. Yeah. Like, if their goal doesn't have to be up here, just not. Oh, I know. You should see us try to run everything on the screens, everything on the screens at home. Oh, that's right.
Hi everybody, do you need some assistance getting to the live stream? I don't know. Are you watching the live stream or just
Well, I called you because I was looking for someone to help me test the new function with streaming online. So now for Voice of Heroes, when people are watching at home on YouTube, you can type in a chat and it'll pop up your name and chat on the screen. So if you want to share the Voice of Heroes, you can post it on the page. So I just wanted to test it, but I called them up. That's fine. Yeah.
I don't hear them. Back on the intro.
We're not doing the service on Zoom like
I mean, tonight, how are you going to wake up? Yeah.
Yes. So when on the
Yep, and that'll take you to the live stream on YouTube.
Should just start.
Okay, there's too much stuff here. Put this.
Isn't that beautiful? Thank you, Jackie. And we have Jackie's going to speak. Is that true?
Pardon me? Yes. Oh, I'll speak a little, yes. It's hard to hear with these on.
Yes. No, it's true. If you don't see the lips moving.
Blah, 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 blah. No. That was J.S. Bach, Johann Sebastian Bach. And that was Minuet number one? Yes, it was Minuet number one from the G major or first solo cello suite. And this is Catherine Villano, a student of mine who takes upright bass lessons. And she also plays beautiful piano. So I had dinner with her family and gave her a lesson because she plays in the Treasure Coast Youth Symphony on Thursday. I said, oh, by the way, I need someone to play a couple hymns with me on Sunday. Would you mind playing? So we talked about it, and she's helping us out. And she's a fine pianist.
Jackie, well done, the slipping in. Ladies and gentlemen, for those of you here in the sanctuary, please be as quiet as possible, except when singing through your mask, so that your voice is not sent out on YouTube. I'm not wearing my mask because of diction and hearing, so that's the way this will go. So, welcome to the Unitarian Universalist congregation in Stuart, Florida. Can you hear me? A little more louder? Thanks. Welcome to the Treasure Coast Unitarian Universalist congregation here in Stuart, Florida. Today is July 25th, 2021. My name is Pam Corbin, and I will be your worship associate today. Bob is not here, and as many of you know, Bob's ex-wife died, and he's gone to be with his family in this time of sadness. So that's our Bob. Very proud of him. We are a welcoming congregation. We welcome all gender identities, races, ages, and backgrounds. It's wonderful to see all our vaccinated members in the sanctuary, although we are on YouTube also. To be put on our email list or to find out more information about us, go to the website at tcuuc.org. You'll get announcements in our Friday online newsletter. Goes a big thanks to those who helped with the service. Jackie Robbins and Catherine Villano, thank you for the music. And to our designated singers, our greeters, and our hosts, Karina Poloni, and our tech wizard, Chris McGann. Janet will light the chalice. Well done. This is the opening words are a chalice lighting for when things aren't okay by Molly Brewer. There is a love holding us. There is a love holding us by Rebecca Parker. My beloved people, I cannot pretend, and so I will not tell you that everything is okay right now. There is no reason to be angry. That there is no reason to be angry. That you must be optimistic.
or at peace. I cannot pretend these things, and so I won't tell them to you. But now our chalice is lit, and so all I ask in this moment is that we remember the words of Rebecca Parker. There is love. There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all. By the light of our chalice, let us rest in this love.
Want to read the Under the Flames?
No. Will the designated singers please come forward and social distance for hymn number 113, Where is Our Holy Church? For the rest of you here in the sanctuary, please sing through your mass. Choir, after the hymn, please stay up front for the affirmation.
This is hymn number 113, and we will play it through once so you get to hear the melody. The words will hopefully be put on the board, on the walls. And I chose this because I thought the words were quite relevant to what's happening today in this last year and a half.
The affirmation? Yes, stay up for the affirmation. Sorry. Choir?
Closer to mine. Would be great.
Me? Oh. Okay. Let's recite our affirmation, speaking the first verse and singing the second. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Please be seated. And we'll have Pam up here for Joys and Sorrows. And I'll move the stones.
Let us share our joys and sorrows. Please step up here to speak. Tell us your name first. Janet will move a stone in our symbolic river of life to mark joys and sorrows.
Good morning. I am Fred Dembowski. There's my lovely wife, Ronnie Dembowski. Tuesday, she is celebrating a birthday. She asked me not to say how old she was, but I'll give you an age range. It's between 74 and 76. So wish her a happy birthday.
Did Ronnie marry the right person? What do you think?
I'm Joe Genicaro, and most definitely they both married the right person.
Yes.
No doubt about that. And happy birthday. Don't look a day over 40. I don't know what's going on there. So I have a very dear friend in Connecticut whose daughter is getting married on this coming Friday. And they're just a beautiful family, and another beautiful family is coming together with that family, and I'm just very happy for all of that. It's quite a joy.
That's why I want to say beginning, so like how comes up, there's no actors as far as.
Hello, I'm Jackie Robbins, and I'm saddened by the fact that so many people have not gotten their vaccinations, and that, in the words of John Lennon, I read the news today, oh boy, and, you know, watching people here in Florida and all over the country, before the ventilator went on, saying, "Can I please have a vaccination?" Screaming for life. And parents saying, I just don't understand why my son wouldn't get vaccinated. And now he's passed away. And at least they're doing something and getting out there and letting people know that really, there's no reason not to get vaccinated. Because it's, it's a tough time we're living through, and it's virulent. And Delta is coming in, and even people with vaccinations. So please continue to be as careful and sane as you are. Wear your masks in public. And I'd like to put one stone for those who are in trouble with health issues and with our pandemic, and also with, the problem we're having with opioids, and the other for the families of those who are suffering.
I'm Ruth Fox, and I want you to keep my friend Nancy Arnold in your thoughts. She is fighting cancer at this point. Thank you so much. My name is Ann Nozawa, and I had to do something during this past week that was very distasteful and difficult for me, but I want to communicate to it. We have a very nice lady who has come from Guatemala, and there endured much difficulty and never got past the 8th grade, which was considered quite an achievement in her family. And but she has become an American citizen, etc. She works hard, and she helps me out greatly. She comes to our house 4 hours every other week, and she has not been vaccinated. I've known this for a number of months, but
partly out of cowardice and self-need, whatever. I didn't say anything. But now I became concerned as we're kind of watching for the results of this surge that we're undergoing of new illness. So I told her, Anna, are you thinking of getting vaccinated? Well, to sum up, our conversation about that was very unsatisfying, I think, to both of us, because she said no, and she could not come up with any reason at all, except to say, why should I be vaccinated? I'm not sick. And I really couldn't respond to that very well. And so I ended the conversation by saying, well, Anna, it's 2 weeks now till I will see you. If you get vaccinated, at least the first shot, before then, please come back in the regular schedule. And if you do not get vaccinated, please do not come back. And I had to reiterate that several times before she understood what I meant. But then she did understand. And we left it at that she's thinking it over. So she's making her choice and I'm making my choice. But it was difficult to do with the woman that I've gotten to know. However, the reason I went on and on about that is because I've made the decision personally to act in that way toward anyone that I'm dealing with. I'm going to say, in whatever way is appropriate, are you vaccinated? If not, why not? And how about it? And if you don't want to, sayonara. And I feel as though it's a pledge that I've taken to myself in relation to what is going on around us.
Yes, people can come into the chat room, so. What did you see?
He's happy that he's finally getting a hold of his stepson.
We are too, Chris, and thank you so much. I'd like to add my joy. Thank you, Marguerite. Marguerite Gregory and I spoke on the phone and said, we really miss seeing you. We miss seeing everybody in church. Is there not a way to get together? And that's how Brown Bag Lunch started. Marguerite is also keeping up with those people who need our attention, who are sick and need us to acknowledge that they have personal things going on. But it was through the Brown Bag Lunch and the leadership of Bob that we were able to get vaccines in January. Bob said he had nothing to do with it, but somehow every appointment that we made went to Bob, and we were designated a special group. And Brown Bag Lunch is not only seeing you, it's an exchange of information. Yes, there's gossip. Yes, there's news. But we also want to see you. We need that socialization. And thank you, Marguerite, for saying, I miss everybody. How do you feel?
Pam, when is the Brown Bag Lunch?
It's every other Tuesday, the first Tuesday, the third Tuesday of the month, unless there's a fifth Tuesday in the month, we have to meet on that day too. And Bob would like to see you at those Brown Bag Lunches because Bob was gone for a while. He doesn't know everybody. He would like to see you. It's not a mandate. It is not clothing optional. It is not formal dress, and it is not catered. It's at 12 noon at Veterans Memorial Park in Stewart on the first Tuesday of the month, the third Tuesday of the month, and if the month has 5 Tuesdays, it's the 5th Tuesday of the month. Come on down. No pressure. Now do we have anybody else? Joys and sorrows? For those whose joys and sorrows are too private to share, know that our hearts are with you. And can we have the choir step up to do hymn 123? This is the hymn that we hum first, and then we sing.
So that's joys and sorrows.
The purpose of church is to encourage all of us who gather there to grow more generous in spirit and in action. This is the great end of all the world's faith traditions, to bring the human being closer to the divine by acts of creation and compassion. We now take an offering that allows us to exercise that all-important generosity of spirit, an offering that will support this self-supporting church. Will the ushers come forward?
And that was the Largo from the New World Symphony by Dvorak. He was invited to come to America, went to the Midwest, and was embraced by all sorts of people, and he loved this country, and he wrote this New World Symphony, which is fairly famous nowadays. Thank you.
I'm personally going to thank you for your donations to this church that allows it to stay open. There are things that must be paid for. There are programs that we want to do. And the offering plate is full. And for each and every one of you that put money in the offering plate, I personally say thank you. We do need it. Thank you for your generosity. And now I'd like to introduce you to Suzanne Ellis.
I'm going to remove this mask because I think it will make for, what did you say, better diction and so on. I was given the opportunity to write and speak about what universalism means to me. And I had no idea what that was on Tuesday. So I did a bit of research, and let me first say I have apologies for not citing anyone other than the Encyclopedia Britannica, because these days when you research online, a lot of people's names are missing and the references are missing. So this isn't all me. This is a collection of information that I've found with a few comments of my own. And I want to say that for many years I saw the world through the eyes of the Roman Catholic Church. And I received a very good education from the church, so I'm grateful for that. But I couldn't stay there. I just couldn't live with the doctrines and the way and the patriarchy. And it's taken me a long time, but I feel like I've found a home here. So let me begin. Unitarian Universalism is a liberal religious tradition that was formed from the consolidation of two religions, which you may already know, Unitarianism and Universalism. In America, the Universalist Church of America was founded in 1793, and the American Unitarian Association in 1825. After consolidating in 1961, these faiths became the new religion of Unitarian Universalism through the Unitarian Universalist Association, or UUA. Universalism is a doctrine that teaches that all people will be saved. Other names for this doctrine are universal restoration, reconciliation, restitution, salvation, and also inclusiveness. The first known modern use of the term universalism was in 1722, according to the editors of Encyclopedia Britannica, and that's as close as I'm going to get to a citing. The main argument for universalism is that a good and loving God would not condemn people to eternal torment in hell. Some universalists believe that after a certain cleansing period, God will free the inhabitants of hell and reconcile them to himself. Others say that after death, people will have another opportunity to choose God. For some, the doctrine also implies that there are various ways to get into heaven.
Critics of universalism are concerned about universalist teachings, especially Christians, but that has occurred over the past 2,000 years. Today, a man named James Fowler, who's president of Christ in Youth Ministries, notes, quote, desiring to focus on the rosy optimism of the universal perfection of man, sin is, for the most part, an irrelevancy. Sin is minimized and trivialized in all universalistic teaching. That's quite a statement. I'm a skeptic when it comes to the use of words like always, never, must, and other similar superlatives, especially when used to describe religious doctrines or teachings. However, universalism teaches us that all will be saved. For me, this still implies accountability in how we live our lives. Are we kind? Are we conscious of the needs of others? Do we take actions that support the inclusive nature of universalism? Do we obey the law, pay our taxes? There are many negative outcomes for failing to follow laws and mores. Therefore, there are consequences for universalists, as there are for everyone. How did universalism begin? Some say it began with the teachings of Christ. While on the cross, Christ is reported to have said to the crucified thief next to him, this very day you will be with me in heaven. That seems to me to be a very clear statement that there is a heaven and the thief will be saved or included, the very definition of inclusivity. Universalism was first taught by Origen Adamantius of Alexandria, an early Christian scholar, ascetic, and theologian. He was a prolific writer who wrote over 2,000 treatises in multiple branches of theology and spirituality. He was influential during his time, which was AD 184 to 254. But later on, leave it to the Catholic Church. He was declared a heretic by the Council of Constantinople in AD 543. Universalism was then supplanted by Catholicism. But, not to be daunted, Universalism became popular again during the 18th century and is gaining traction in many circles today, Christian circles, that is. And what about the Bible and universalism? There are many translations, and much of universalism relies on the premise that Bible translations are wrong in their uses of the terms, as an example, hell, Gehenna, everlasting, and other words that claim eternal punishment. Despite the fact that recent translations such as the NIV or New International Version and the English Standard versions of the Bible, which were the efforts of a large team of biblical scholars, universalists say the Greek term eon, which means age, has been consistently mistranslated across the centuries, leading to false doctrine about the length of hell. At this point, I'd like to tell you about a friend of mine named Alan Brown. When he was 14, he went into the monastery, Catholic monastery, and he was there from age 14 to 18. It soured him so much that he left the church. It made me really sad to hear that, because when anything forces us out or we feel forced out, I think that's cause for sadness. But I contacted Alan about this speech today, and I said, "What do you think about universalism?" He said, "Well, for me," he said, "remember that in the Bible, there was 1,000 years of the tradition of handing things down verbally before really things began to be written and printed." And he said everybody has their axe to grind, so there's all kinds of information. There are conflicting information in the various Gospels, and I think that's one bit of evidence to support Alan's theory. He said, "For me, inclusivity is the way to go. So what universalism means to me is a tradition of including everyone in every way. This sets us up to land squarely on the shoulders of social justice. I think Christ would have wanted it this way. Thank you.
Linda will come up now.
Linda will come up now. Oh, she's singing.
Saying hello to everybody. First, I want to thank Janet for putting this program together kind of at the last minute. She has worked really hard on it. And I enjoy. Tuesday, I kind of said, oh, yeah, I can help with that. And then I started researching Universalism this week, and I was just fascinated and got really in depth into the history of it. My own personal experience with Universalism, I became a Unitarian in around 1974, and I called myself Unitarian at that point. And the St. Paul Church, it's a beautiful church. I was back in Minnesota staying with my family after my divorce, and Unitarianism meant a lot to me at that moment. Then many, many years later, when Dan and I moved to San Diego, we happened to meet, the minister there was an interim minister, John Cummins. And John Cummins had just retired from the Minneapolis church, which was a Universalist, first Universalist church in Minneapolis. And he was a delightful man. He was there for 2 years as our interim. And what I recall of asking John, first of all, I got to know him better because I helped him put together a funeral of a friend of ours because he had just arrived. And what I recall is him talking about the history of the Universalists in America, in New England, and he talked about a church in Gloucester, I say that right, Gloucester, Massachusetts. And so when I was researching this, I found that this was the church of John Murray, who was a Methodist minister born in 1741, so we go way back. And he also believed that Jesus' death brought salvation, that all human souls will be saved. So that kind of separated John Murray from the Christianity and Calvinism. And what John Cummins told me was that the Universalist Church in Gloucester had a great deal of sailing men, sea captains. And the sea captains started coming because they had traveled all over the world. And many of them were brought up as Christians, and they basically believed that of all these people that they'd met all over the world, certainly they weren't born to eternal damnation. And so I became more interested in Universalism through John. In reading this week, I became fascinated then with the other historical figure in Universalism is Hosea Ballou. And he was fascinating to me. He's also called the father of American Universalism. He was born probably about 20 years after John Murray. So John Murray had also established his church in Gloucester. Hosea Ballou. And I'm going to tell a little bit about him before I give you his reading. The reading I'm about to do is taken from his writings. He was famous as a Universalist clergyman and theological writer for more than 50 years. He was born in rural New Hampshire. His father was a Baptist minister. He was self-educated. And I noticed he converted in 1789 to the belief in universal salvation, which was a break from the old teachings of Christianity. And when I thought about it, he was only 18 years old. Pretty deep thinking for an 18-year-old. Ballou included all of humanity. He became very devoted to ministry after his conversion in 1789. He preached in numerous churches in Vermont, New Hampshire, and Massachusetts. And starting in 1817, he was the pastor of the Second Universalist Society of Boston until his death in 1852. I thought this was really interesting. He wrote constantly. He wrote hymns, essays, and over 10,000 sermons. Of course, if you break that down to a period of 50 years of preaching, that isn't as many. He also wrote 2 Universalist journals and founded and edited the Universalist magazine in 1819 called The Trumpet. He was called an ultra-universalist. When he broke from John Murray, Ballou rejected even more of traditional Calvinism and became a Trinitarian, or rejected the Trinitarian views. He preached to everyday people, to the common people, and he believed that Christianity's emphasis on God's wrath hardens the hearts of the believers. I was just looking in our hymnal, and I see that there is a writing from Hosea Ballou. What was very interesting to me, that by the end of the century, that 1 in 8 Americans were Universalists, which really surprised me as to the numbers that we have now. I think I'm more aware now of the second part of being, I've always called myself a Unitarian. I think I'm more aware now of the Universalist side. I was really impressed with the history of liberal religion. I guess I kind of tend to think of it as being very recent. And as Suzanne mentioned, there is a very strong history of liberal religion going back to being influenced, especially in the beginning, by the Enlightenment in Europe. So the reading that I've chosen from Hosea Ballou, which kind of sums up a lot of his beliefs, I think is very powerful. It's from a writing called, this is so Unitarian, An Examination of the Doctrine of Future Retribution on the Principles of Morals, Analogy, and the Scriptures. So I can see how the Unitarians and the Universalists got along. I can see them. So here is Ballou's reading. I'll try to use a deep voice. It is well known and will be acknowledged by every candid person that the human heart is capable of becoming soft or hard, kind or unkind, merciful or unmerciful, by education and habit. On this principle, we contend that the infernal torments which false religion has placed in the future world, and which ministers have with an overflowing zeal so constantly held up to the people and urged with all their learning and eloquence, have tended to so harden the hearts of the professors of this religion that they have exercised toward their fellow creatures a spirit of enmity, which but too well corresponds with the relentless cruelty of their doctrine and the wrath which they have imagined to exist in our Heavenly Father. By having such an example constantly before their eyes, they have become so transformed into its image that wherever they have had the power, they have actually executed a vengeance on men and women. which evinced that the cruelty of their doctrine had overcome the native kindness and compassion of the human heart. So he preached this 187 years ago. And in reading this, I'm thinking how relevant it is to today. So I thank you all for your interest in universalism. I think that it really is important that we think about the history of that church and what they've brought to us. Thank you.
Thanks, Suzanne and Linda. We're learning a lot today. One thing about doing these, we get into our research, which is good. Today, I'm going to source this somewhat from the Harvard Square Library. First, please excuse my Latin. You'll see. Did you know that Tufts was founded as a Universalist university? In the mid-1940s, a young group of seminary graduates from the School of Theology at Tufts had a vision. Concerned that universalism was outdated and in a fatal decline, the small group of ministers sought to pursue an intense spiritual journey into the ministry and to transform the Universalist Church from a struggling dissident Christian sect into religious greatness. They formed the Humiliate, an intentional semi-monastic religious community with goals of establishing a theological basis for pushing universalism beyond Christianity, complete with new worship ceremonies for a reinvigorated church. The word humiliate goes back to the 12th century, the humble ones. There was a similar group back then, but of course they ended up having some trouble with the Pope. The group was active from 1945 to 1954. They inspired a whole generation of ministers and seminary students to think with more creativity about worship and the religious practice, and helped pave the way for the consolidation of Unitarianism and Universalism. Of course, they had some opposition, as many feared that moving Universalism beyond Christianity was too radical of a change to appeal to the mass of churchgoers. They created a membership requirement and procedures for the community. Decades later, in a dissertation on the group, they were likened to a gang of boys playing pirates. However, the author also admired their seriousness and the intensity with which they worked. This emergent universalism aspired to offer a theological framework that was functional, naturalistic, theistic, and humanistic. It is based on a quest for a higher development of world religion, one that understands the universe transcends every religion, including Christianity. Famously, the group adopted a symbol of an off-center cross inside a circle of a larger cross as their visual expression. We should have a slide on this. It was in the PowerPoint that had the original title of the sermon. And the, Karina, do you have it?
I don't think we have the slide.
We don't have the slide. It is the second slide on the PowerPoint presentation, the first thing that was projected today. That gave the title of the service.
Janet, that's not the same
Okay,
PowerPoint.
Karina sees it. It's a visual.
Looks like our,
Janet, just
looks like
Yes, yes, that is the tie-in. So it was a ring with an off-center cross, and that the Universalists that aren't associated with us use today. Our own UU Christians have a version of that, which is essentially, again, the off-center cross, and then a UU under that. And of course, if we were seeing that, as Jackie just observed, that is a direct line into our chalice here. So we do have that. And that brings me to our painting, which is reflective of our chalice. Early in our shutdown, we were all so painfully missing our church. Several of us began to think about a few things which had bothered us in the sanctuary itself. We are blessed to have a beautiful building, but the fortress of furniture up on the chancel and the blank wall left us unsettled. So we began to talk. There is a board appointed design committee in place. Ruth Fox, Judy Cialoni, and myself. We reached out to church members who in the past had an interest in our visual presentation or in art. Luckily, we did have Karina Poloni, a professional artist, on our extended team. She volunteered not only to create a painting for the blank wall, but to donate the materials. Karina took in a lot of ideas, and we all settled on the obvious choice as used by so many UU churches, the chalice. There were at least 10 of us contributing ideas. Karina took it from there. A triumph, not only as we have ended up with a beautiful piece of art, but one which reflects all of us. Designed by committee, so UU, if improbable sounding. Karina, come out and take a bow.
Hi, I'm glad everybody likes it.
That was it? It came and gone.
Oh.
It was there for a split second.
Oh, the symbols were?
Yes.
Okay. There it is. There's your symbols. All right, we found them. Oh, am I supposed to talk about the painting? Okay. Well, we're all kind of familiar with it. I think everybody here has already seen it. And really the objective was so that when Bob is standing right here, it looks like his head is on fire. How's mine look? Not from the same. Marguerite, is my head on fire? Good. Mission accomplished. Thanks. So I really wanted something that incorporated the symbol of the chalice with our love of the natural world. And that seemed like the best way to do it. I also wanted something that would make a really nice backdrop for whoever was up here speaking. So I'm glad everybody seems to like it so much. Thank you.
Now we're going to do another hymn, number 322. Thanks be to these. Choir, please step forward. And Pam, go down.
Yes, I have the closing words, and I'd like to be uplifting in a way. So there is an article on the UUA internet site that says, "How do you know that you are a Unitarian?" And it does say that you want to get out of church early because you have to go to the farmer's market. You really want to bring your homemade roasted vegetables to the potluck next week. But you have got to find some heirloom tomatoes if you want to get it right. Heirloom tomatoes at Whole Foods is $3.99 a pound. Rainbows are your favorite.
So, Christians don't like tomatoes.
I'm going to end this there. So if there's any farmer's market that is still open, you'll be able to get there. I want to thank you all for coming to service today. And I'm happy to be a Unitarian because you're here. You are here. Thank you. Don't forget, water hour after the postlude. But this is why I come to church.
Thank you. Thank you, and go in peace.